Welcome everyone. I'm so pumped to interview Mark Wildman here today, and we're going to be talking about everything staff, steel mace, and train neural load. And it's in preparation for our first live event that we've held in a very long time, since pre-pandemic. Mark and I are going to be teaching here at the Flowshala coming up on April 28th. It's called the Wildman and Summer Immersion. It's a 3-day intensive. So before we get into that, Mark, how you doing? Where are you at?
I am sitting on a rooftop somewhere near Koreatown off of Wilshire Boulevard in the great Los Angeles, California, the once great city.
Amazing.
Yep.
And any highlights of your week training this week we should know about?
I'm pretty limited on training right now. I've been traveling for about 5 weeks, and it was only supposed to be a 10-day trip. So I did not bring a lot of my gear with me. I snagged a 15-pound mace when I got here, but 15-pound mace is pretty light for me. You have to do some serious time under tension in order to create enough load after all these years. I really just need to break out the steel mace Vinyasa protocols that are in the back of my computer and start knocking those out. But I was going to save that. If I'm here another week, I'm going to start doing that. I've been getting in just a little bit of kettlebells. I have like a 22K competition kettlebell and a 15-pound mace. And I don't always have the 22 kilogram kettlebell with me. It's over at a gym where I can only sneak in at certain hours to do what I want because all my training is crazy. So we're a little limited on training right now. I'm trying to get it pumped back up. I'm working on a lot of body weight training that I've been planning for summer release programs. You know how it goes. It's as a trainer, you never actually get to do good training. You're always on the move. You're always doing other types of things. And it's always chaos. And your job is to figure out how to manage that chaos and turn it into something usable in some way later on.
Sweet. Well, I think that's a great segue into what we have planned and how we came up with this Wildman and Summer Immersion. So I'm going to do a quick little screen share because I think it helps to have some visual. So bear with me here while I do a little screen share action. Cool.
There we go.
Okay, so here we are, Flowshala page under workshops, flowshala.com/workshops. This is our very impressive poster here.
There we go.
And there's another poster. I thought maybe posters would be helpful. But this is the breakdown of the day by day. So I really want to get into kind of what we're going to be covering on these days. And if any of you guys are curious about what training neural load is, I also have this other handy video pulled up here. So let's just start with some reminiscent times, the before times when we used to train in person of Mark and I facilitating, and he was training neural load, which I actually have my staff here, a couple staff. So this is a very large component of our immersion. So I want you guys to check it out. There probably won't be machetes for beginners, but you can see that as well. Here we go.
Oh, wow. You're doing the whole sound too. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's got
that
lag
headset.
in it. Oh, yeah. My Madonna headset you guys gave me. I love that thing. I'm trying to find a good Madonna headset for myself, you know. I'm thinking about getting one of the ones that truckers use. I think that's going to be the most sturdy.
Boom. We're going to be doing some steel mace. We'll work you up to the machetes. You guys don't need to go machete quite yet, but lots of staff.
Just, is the video lagging just on my end, or is it lagging on your end too?
It's pretty solid on my end. We'll just roll with it.
All right.
We're going to the end.
Okay.
Pump up moment. Okay, cool. So we might not have that kind of music, but you get the idea. So let's go into our breakdown of the day by day. So we've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday blocked out. Friday is going to be a shorter day, so I think it's about 3 hours. We're introducing mobility. I'm sure a lot of people will be like traveling, getting off the plane. So we're making sure we introduce the concepts of mobility, somatics, and definitely getting a dose of staff. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we have 2 7-hour days where we're basically going to be running through different modalities. Mark, go ahead and share a bit about the way that you're going to be structuring the staff training, the club training, and the steel mace training.
What I would like to do is do a good once over on all of these things with multiple short bursts of information at a time. So I would like to have a little bit of staff Friday. I would like probably 2 sections of staff on Friday, and then multiple sections on both Saturday and Sunday. I would like at least 3 sections on Saturday, at least 3 sections on Sunday. These sections are designed to start reprogramming people's brains for the type of drill we're trying to do. We're trying to emphasize a concept called OODA loop, or observe, orient, decide, and act. Every sport does this in some way. That's your brain's ability to respond to input, make a decision, and then do the correct output. I just like to do this independent of modern sport, and I like to take this back to what I think is the lowest type of things that humans did. Humans were using tools before they had language, before they had poetry, before they really sang or did anything like that. It's that thing that predates even storytelling and the way the human mind works. The human brain is a supercomputer that is designed to respond to specific types of stimuli. All of those most primitive types of stimuli are based on defense, getting yourself out of the way, putting something between you and something that's coming at you, learning how to calculate distance, speed, and timing, and then move your body accordingly. We can't just do that in one giant block, because if we did, people's brains shut off. So what we want to do is put small sections of this in between other types of training so that you can come into it, rack your brain up with some data, and then come back and try it again later. But basically, we're trying to trick people's brains into thinking that their brain has a lot more experience than they actually have. This is learning technique that you'll see in all good coaches. Specifically, I worked on this one a lot with horse training. When you're trying to get people to learn something, if you hammer them too long with too much information and it's too high stress, they don't learn anything. So the goal of our training as coaches is to design ways to make sure that people learn, and we take them up to the edge where their brain starts to fail, and then we take them to some other idea. The goal here is to have all these ideas interrelate between staff OODA loop training, building our pure basic athletic brain structure, and then talking about heavy club swinging, and then talking about our steel mace vinyasa. Obviously, Summer will be doing the steel mace vinyasa because she is a master at that. Yeah, what am I missing here, Summer? You know I talk in loops.
Oh man, excited. I think that we got the main gist of what's going to be happening with staff. Expect staff multiple times in smaller chunks so that your nervous system adapts to that as a training stimulus. And if you've never trained with staff and you're worried about like, oh, am I going to be good at it? Or, do I have enough experience to come? It's open. This is an all levels workshop. It's open to
everybody.
You do not have to be
I'm going to point this out. People who think that they know what they're talking about with staff, they're only like competitive sport HEMA guys. Like those are the only guys on the planet who actually know that topic. Everybody else, I don't care what your sport is, unless you do live weapon sparring, you are not prepared for this. That is the point. Our job is to expose you to something that you will not be good at. People come in and they're professional dancers. I train circus performers, professional stunt people. We're trying to find a thing that we coach that is outside of all of those other things. Whatever preparation you have probably will not be adequate. That's the point. We're trying to expose you to a different series of ideas. So yeah, don't expect to be good at it at all. I don't care what kind of athlete you are. If you're a professional ballerina, it's probably going to be worse for you than if you're a normal person. We're trying to just find things and do them and coach them in the right way to make people's brains more adaptable to other things later.
My segments are going to be really focused on shoulder mobility, things like 360s, single-handed mills and swings, and drop swings. And I know that Mark's going to be complementing that with heavy clubbells as well, because we both learned all of our mills and swipes and what we would call a 360 with heavy clubs first. And then we went to a higher, more long leverage tool. We do have all of the tools at the Flowshala. I have a bunch of 7-pound mace. I have 7 and 10-pound mace. I have 15 and 20. We have up to 45-pound club bells. If you're not familiar with club bells, don't worry, you don't need to check them on the plane. We have all of that equipment here. And the studio is 2,800 square feet, so you can kind of see the studio that we're going to be training in. There'll be plenty of room, and we're thinking this could be like between 10 and up to 25 people. So if you're wanting to have, you know, one-on-one attention in a group setting with us, this is an amazing opportunity to come and clean up shop. Like all the things that you've been practicing online for the last 2 years in pandemic, guarantee when you come here and you have us coach you in person, you're going to learn a ton about where you're leaking power. Anything you want to add to that, Mark?
Yeah. I had a comment online this week. Somebody said that you can't learn technical skills through video. And I just wanted to point out that you can totally learn technical skills through video. Most people can easily get up into the 90 to 95% range by paying attention to good coaching cues and actually listening. The problem is most people need in-person training at some point. I know I did when I started all this stuff, because there are things that you don't know. That's the most important part about live in-person training. You are unable to see the things that somebody else sees because your body is skipping something for a reason. There's a weird movement pattern your body has, and you're not aware of it until somebody else points it out to you. Back when I started all this kettlebell and club bell jazz back in like 2005, I trained for a solid 2 years before I went to my first seminar every day for 2 years. And I thought I got really good. And I went to a 2-day seminar and it blew my mind. You had experience, so you were able to take coaching, accept coaching, but you do at some point need somebody to point and be like, this is the feeling you're looking for. You need to drive down, not up. Move your hand away. It's all these little tiny things. And that is the point of in-person coaching that I personally have been missing for the last 2 years. I know Summer's been missing it a little bit more as well. In-person coaching is a very different type of experience. You can learn online, and that is super, super important, but you have to have these bursts of in-person contact training in order to really get deeper and deeper and deeper into the idea.
Sweet. So I plan to teach some more advanced stuff as well, because I know a lot of people have been asking, how do I link things up? How do I integrate this into more of like a performance opportunity? So there will be some of that on Sunday to kind of coalesce everything that we study with Steel Mace Vinyasa. And even if you don't have a large vocabulary of the Steel Mace Vinyasa moves, there's still a lot that you can do in movement expression. So I encourage you, beginners, you're welcome to come, and just make sure that you come with an open mind and check your ego at the door. Like, we're all here to learn. We're all here to be safe and make sure we're not injuring ourselves in any way. And I know that people are going to take away a ton. Awesome. How you doing, Mark? Do you have to vacate your spot? Are you good?
No, I'm good. No, I'm good. It's just, LA is always full of people. We're always talking to each other.
Yeah. So I had a couple questions from some of Mark's students that have been watching him on YouTube. I just reached out to a handful of our 100-hour teachers in training. So I have just a couple quick questions before we wrap up this. Highly recommend you guys take advantage of the early pre-sale pricing. So it's $777 off, and that's going to be ending on 4/1, which is Thursday. So at midnight on Thursday, that pricing will be going away and it'll be into the next tier. It's still somewhat discounted, and then it'll be in that tier for the next 10 days or so. But we really want to make sure we have an accurate head count. We can prep, we can send you any content to prep as well. I'm just going to throw this out there. Anybody that pre-registers and gets themselves registered can have access to the Train Neural Load course for the next 30 days. You guys can be granted access to that course so that you can prep. So my question from Shane Meyer, who's from Seattle, who drives up here and trains with Coach Renna for the past year. He actually found us through your channel. He was curious, what was your most overwhelming block? Let's see, his question was maintaining focus while letting go. What was your most overwhelming block in your training? And it's more of a personal practice question.
Could you repeat that question? I think there's 2 questions in there.
Yeah, so he said maintaining focus while letting go. What was his most overwhelming block? A lot of our coaches, or a lot of our clients and students, they have these blocks where they're like, I just want to get to the next level, or I really want to like level up. Can you share an experience about a block that you were experiencing in your training and how you overcame it?
I'm going to talk about the greatest block I ever had in my life, economics. I grew up on a dirt road in the middle of nowhere with absolutely no equipment and absolutely no information. My block has always been jumping up to higher types of equipment. It takes me years to decide to buy something. Like I didn't have a steel mace for years, and Summer had tons of them because it was one more piece of equipment and it was one more expense. Back when maces first came out, they were like $300 a piece. They were super expensive. They were way more expensive than kettlebells. Part of the reason I train the way I train, and I train with very simple things, is because I will never get over the economic situation of my childhood. And I want all the information that I convey to people to be based on that idea that you don't have to have $1 million in order to accomplish any task. So I have a lot of mental blocks associated with those types of things. Using fancy equipment, I just don't like to do. I don't like to write programs around fancy equipment. And big blocks that I had throughout training, one of my big blocks that I worked on for years was performance. I grew up on a dirt road in the middle of nowhere. I don't know anything about stage life or anything like that. And I set about working on circus performance on the sheer fact that I wanted to be a better person, and being terrified of being in front of people was not something I enjoyed doing. I hated being in front of people. I only liked coaching one-on-one. I did not like coaching groups. I did not like being in the limelight. I trained tons of actors and circus performers and dancers and cheerleaders and all kinds of people. And my biggest block was always the time that I had to get up and talk to somebody else who wasn't somebody that I knew. I worked on that for many years. Part of the thing that I do on YouTube is me continually working on making sure that I know how to communicate my information. But yeah, I went through a whole process mentally on performing, deciding what type of performance I would like to do and how far you would like to take that, and what are the ideas you would like to encapsulate in something like that, and then transferring those ideas to teaching, and then transferring those ideas to big events, like the ones that Summer runs, where you end up coaching 300 people all at once. So yeah, I have blocks. We all have blocks. Our goal is to figure out how to write a plan to get around them, right? I can write somebody a program for stage fright at this point. Like I can write a program for almost anything, because when you grow up below the poverty line on a dirt road, you have a lot of fears about the world. And I have systematically gone through and applied our training knowledge and engineering knowledge to break those down. So yeah, did I answer the question, or am I just rambling again? I never know.
So a big thing that we've been working on for the past, 2 years now in pandemic with our 100-hour teacher training is exactly that. It's taking our training concepts and applying them to real life. So if you have a somatic patterns, such as fear of being in front of people or fear of poverty, that's exactly what you did, Mark, was take your training to be able to expand your neural load, to be able to, be comfortable with that fear and again and again. And I've seen you too on YouTube, the way that you're communicating things, it's like, night and day from looking at stuff from, 10 years ago. So you've really.
Oh yeah, 10 years ago I was a train wreck. Couldn't even talk to people 10 years ago. I didn't learn to talk to people, my friends joke, until I was like 27. For the most part, like I got all the way through 5 years of college with zero social skills, no ability to talk to people. It wasn't until I really took a big leap into circus and the circus world that I actually got to the point where I learned how to just talk to people in general, and then to become that coach that I wish that I had had. That's always the goal.
So on that note, if you are thinking about coming to the immersion with us and coaching, I encourage you to bring some sort of a somatic pattern that you want to shift in your life. It could be an emotional pattern, a behavioral pattern that you've struggled with for the longest time and that you really want to shift and transform. And we can definitely give you the springboard to start using your movement practice to start creating a new neural pathway. Because the mind and body are inextricably linked, and there's something magical that happens when you swing a mace. but it's grounded in neuroscience. You don't need to understand the neuroscience to know that it works. Just come, show up, bring your patterns, and we will help you. I will help you. My last question's from Keith. Keith did our 100-hour teacher training. He is a psychologist, counselor, owns a bunch of drug addiction counseling centers.
Cool, dude.
In the
I like that guy.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Keith's question, what does Mark see as the most effective way to integrate steel mace and kettlebell trainings together to create a comprehensive workout? I know there's a million answers to this.
This is an infinitely large. It's an infinitely large answer. I'm gonna pick two ways to answer this question.
Okay, he wants to know about nerd math too. in there,
all
in
right.
the answer. That's all.
Well, he just asked me to write a 1,000-page book in 4 minutes. Thanks, Keith. Love it when you do that. I'm going to answer this question in two different ways. The most effective way to integrate Mace into a kettlebell program, and the most effective way to integrate kettlebell into a Mace program, because they are two entirely separate ideas. Kettlebells are heavier weights. They're better for creating endurance. They are simpler, they are more affordable, they tend to be easier for most people to learn. So in kettlebells, you have 6 fundamentals of kettlebelling. You have your swing, your clean, your snatch, your press, your squat, and your Turkish get up. That's a total of 6. And you would run some type of nerd math program where you tried to accomplish a training cycle for each of the movements twice a week. That would give you 12 sections of training. If you wanted to add steel mace to that, then I would 100% advocate you add 1 exercise or 2, probably 1 for the first 6 months, the Mace 360, and you would set it up at twice a week, and it could fall almost anywhere. So when I talk about training, I realize that nobody follows a perfect training program like a lot of Hollywood trainers, right? The perfect program from the movie, whatever. And they always require tons of equipment, and they're completely unfeasible to do in any way. And then they'll write the bullshit body weight program on the side that they don't expect anybody to do, that they didn't really put any thought in. We think about things an entirely different way. We think about all of our individual movements as having their own individual nerd math progression. And we want you to get through doing all of them twice a week. How you set that up, because they're individual blocks, we call this the Tetris of training. Those individual blocks can move around depending on your time availability every day, because people who actually work for a living or in the normal people category of laborer, whatever, don't have a perfectly predictable time schedule, and they don't have 2 hours to dedicate every day. So everything has to shift around. So if you did swings twice a week, Monday and Thursday, and you did Turkish get up twice a week, Tuesday and Friday, you could stack all your movements up into that. If you're going to add something to it, you would add a Mace 360. A Mace 360 completes kettlebell training. It completes almost any type of training. If you were to add Mace 360 to bodybuilding, it would drastically improve the overall health output of bodybuilding. If you added it to CrossFit, CrossFit would become an incredibly, incredibly good idea beyond just the good idea that it is now. If you were to attack this from a different way and you were to do steel mace training, say steel mace Vinyasa training as that whole giant program that it is, where you're focusing on the movements of intermediate lightweight mace, you could add kettlebells to that, and you would pick 1 or 2 exercises. Let's talk about 1. You would add swings, because swings would be a heavy weight that you can add in complexity. You could do swing programs twice a week, say Monday and Thursday, on top of your steel mace Vinyasa training. And you could have 10-minute section on each of those, and you could ramp the weight up, and you could run that program for 2 years. So there are an infinite number of ways to answer any one of these questions. So if people do not give me parameters on how to answer them, I'll make them up. Kettlebells, add mace, mace, add kettlebell. And yeah, your most important things are going to be the 360 and the swing.
Sweet. Awesome. All right. I just filmed a chunk of that, so I'm going to share that out on the old Instagram. That's all I have for this interview. The most important thing is if you have questions, that you head on over to flowshala.com/workshops. There's a question form on there. So if you need to know like what hotel to stay in, what airport to fly into, all that stuff's on the page. There's a ton of super affordable places to stay. They're within walking distance of Bellingham. And we're just situated right here on the water. There's going to be some fun little things we'll throw in, like, you know, going out for a group dinner on Saturday night. I'm going to see if I can sweet talk Dave to maybe checking out the Wave shop if anyone comes early on Friday. So if you want to come a little early and check in with us, we'll be around, and we would love to have you and build some community. It's been a long time. I know a lot of you guys have been hanging out with us online, and we are not offering this virtually. This is completely 100% in person. So yeah, that's about all I have. Anything you want to add in for the good of the order, Mark?
Yeah, show up. Let's do stuff. I mean, learning is the only fun thing that we have. You know, learning is the most important thing that humans do. Getting together in order to exchange information is the basis of all human civilization. So we should do that stuff. We should make that a priority in our lives, and we should do that.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling called to spend more time on movement experiences as we transition out of the pandemic. And so I feel really grateful. I have a beautiful space to hold that container for people. So the doors are open. Anyone and all are welcome. And I look forward to meeting you guys in person. Thanks, everyone.
All right.